All right, g'day, hi, and welcome. Okay, I'm gonna have an interesting video for you right now. Bit of I don't know how to really explain it. Okay, my mom was a huge Elvis fan, and I found a bag while I was in my move. Right, I didn't know what when I was cleaning out the art room up now my nephew's room, formerly my sister's room, formerly the art room, formerly my sister's room. And this bag was in there. And in the bag, there was a bunch of it. I was just going to check it. And I was like, well, I better go through it first. Because I didn't recognize it as anything of mine. And I didn't think it was my sister's. And being the art room, I thought, well, it's most likely was my mom who passed away in 2014. Now, my mom was a huge Elvis fan. Okay. And she was more of a fan than I actually thought. Like I always knew she was a fan from when I was a kid, right? Like it was Elvis, even though I might not be considered the biggest Elvis fan in the world, being a metalhead or whatever. But growing up, Elvis was all the rage, like I talked about in the previous video, and he is probably the man that inspired me to play guitar between him and Jimi Hendrix, and then probably Paul Stanley, from Kiss, right? Because that's and maybe Joe Walsh from the Eagles. Those are my earliest memories of like music. Was like Elvis for sure, the Monkees, the Beatles. I mean, I was born in the '70s, right? But Elvis was the first time I really saw what a guitar was. You know what I mean? And Jimi Hendrix was the first time where I was like blown away by the guitar. But I remember listening to it was Foxy Lady and Purple Haze on a back in the '70s. They used to nobody could steal these things. They were basically like a dresser with a record player in it, and you kept all your records. Like these things weighed like a gazillion pounds. Like it was like the TVs. Nobody could steal. Nobody could steal a 1970s TV. With it was basically a file, like a freaking furniture cabinet. And so were these record player things. I remember listening to the 45 of Jimi Hendrix, but I also my mom hung on to her records from when she was a young girl, and I remember listening to a few of them, and we still have them somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where they are, but I know we still have them somewhere, and I definitely don't want to get rid of those. And I remember listening to Strawberry Fields and Let It Be uh, by the Beatles on the 45, and I think there was two others. I think there was four songs on there on a 45. If you don't know what a 45 is, it was the size of the record. You had the 78, you had the 45, and that's the speeds you played them at. And the thing is that I remember listening to that, but she also had Elvis records as well and stuff like that. I don't know what happened to those. Apparently, I think she lost some of those in a move or something like that. But she did start collecting Elvis stuff apparently, and it was her thing. It was her thing. Or, like I mentioned in the previous video, that like the girls that she grew up with, they were all the Monkees and Elvis and stuff like that. But she ended up. There's a lady. The name is Barbara McLaren. I don't know this lady, but apparently she had a fan club, and I'll see. Yeah, reading glass. Don't laugh at my glasses. I got them from a little old lady the other day, and I needed an extra pair of reading glasses down here. So yeah, yeah. No laughing. No laughing. These are manly girl glasses. The Art of Barbara McLaren, P.O. Box 775, Chesterville, Ontario, KOC 1HO, Canada. And 1996. So this goes back to Elvis Presley Enterprises. Printed in Canada, Elvis Presley, Greenland, and TCB are registered trademarks of Elvis Presley Enterprises Inc. So this is the lady who had a fan club, would send birthday cards like this, and these are her artworks. Look at that. Isn't that fantastic or what? And anyway, I'll without further ado, because you guys probably had a good enough laugh as it is. They're manly old lady girl glasses, just so you know. Anyway, here's the Elvis display. So as you see, my mom racked up, a few things. There's all kinds of stuff in here. These ones on the lower here, these are cards, and that this is the artworks of that Barbara lady. Look at the detail. I thought at first that was Neil Diamond, but it's not. It's Elvis. It's just and these pictures, like when you look at them, you can know which picture she actually did. This is an actual painting of Elvis from this Barbara lady. That's it. And she makes them into cards, whatever. That's not a painting, but this one is. That's incredible. Like my mom also was taking painting lessons and stuff like that. So you got some Elvis. Let's widen this out. Well, no, I'll keep the detail and then I'll widen out after. Yeah, so there's more Elvis stuff here. Elvis 50th anniversary, 1935 to 1995, or 60th anniversary, sorry. Maybe I should put some of those old lady glasses on again. We got that Elvis book. A lot of these books are from the 90s, but I got something really, really interesting to show you. And that's Graceland. It's a postcard. There's a magazine. That's a calendar. And we're going to look at that because my mom had been hanging on to that one for a long time. There's concert dates, interviews, stuff like that. And I'm going to read the stuff. I know enough about Elvis. I mean, like I say, growing up. But the one I want to really show you, like this stuff is neat. This is like mainly from the 1990s here. But this one, I'm not sure how old that one is, but this one, guys, this is original Elvis. Okay. My mom had been hanging on to this. Okay. So she passed away in 2014, right? So where does this calendar start? Let's see. What's the date on this calendar? 1978. Look at that. January 1978. Okay, I'm going to have to widen out here. Let's see. There we go. So I know it's not the best. Sorry. I need these again. So in case there's any writing or anything. I went through it really quickly. That's 1978. I would be 5 years old at this point in my life. Now I'm 52. There's February. Priscilla, Lisa Marie, Elvis. Elvis was he was a handsome man for sure. Like, there's no doubt about that. The ladies went wild for him. There's the Navy Elvis. Remember some of the Elvis movies when I was a kid? I can't remember if the movies were any good or not, but it's like the novelty was Elvis was in it, right? April 1978. Yeah, that was near the end, wasn't it? June. However, unfortunately for July, what was it? July is missing out of this, so my mom must have put it up somewhere, cut it out, put it up, made a collage or something. In 1970, wasn't Priscilla? She was pretty. She was very pretty. They had such a rocky road, didn't they? But August 1978. What was I doing in August 1978? Probably picking my nose. That's probably what I was doing. Again, more movie Elvis service. And then September, let's get to October here. Yeah, not too sure who's beside him there. I think those were backup singers. If anybody knows, you can let me know who's in there. But look at the styles, 1978. Now those are probably pictures from the 1960s or late 50s. So the hairstyles, wow, what a different world, eh? And then November. Young Elvis, all slicked back. See, the thing about Elvis, too, was, he was still December 1978. I do remember the late 70s in school and stuff like that. I just couldn't tell you what year it was. But, the snowstorms, 1978. Yeah, there was a snowstorm and a half up here, that's for sure. Here in Canada. But, Elvis still, even though he was the big rock star, he still had that kind of country bumpkin about him, right? So, I mean, the guy grew up on farms and stuff like that, I'm sure. He's in the studio. But yeah, I hope you guys. Sometimes I take my eyes off the camera there. Yeah, we know that was near the end there. But what a grandiose suit, eh? No wonder they called him the king. 1978 colored calendar. Wow, that's crazy. That is crazy. But that's not the Elvis that inspired me to play guitar. The Elvis that inspired me to play guitar was, this Elvis. Like the younger Elvis, the slightly younger Elvis. I remember seeing him all in white. You know what I mean? So this is 1997. This catalog. That's crazy. Let's have a gander. What's in there? See, yeah, this is all just stuff. But this is the one that's going to be more interesting. This one here, more of talks about him and stuff like that. But 60, yeah. So I'm sure there's a lot of stuff in there, but that's definitely a keepsake. But that one I think is a real keepsake. So that's a keepsake. But this one here is Robert Gibson and Sid Shaw. This was the life and biography of Elvis here. So, see if we can get some Elvis blowing you a kiss. There you go. Let's try not to ruin the book. So my mom probably had this for a while. Did I just see a Tarzan Elvis? The final years. Yeah, the final years. Just look at that. Whoop. Anyway, yeah, so I got a little bit of reading here. So none of this stuff, just before you even, I know, because there might be Elvis fans that will ask me, hey, would you sell this? Would you sell? No, there's no amount of money. This was my mom's, and my mom's not with us anymore. And this was so special for her that, I'm taking it to my grave. Sorry. But like I say, some of the stuff you could still hunt down. What's it worth? I don't care. It could be worth $1 million, but even at that, I couldn't part with it. The dates and times and stuff like that. My mom always wanted to go to Graceland. That was like Disneyland for her. That was the fairy tale. You know what I mean? And I talked about the phone call between the two phone calls between my mom and Elvis, my mom and Muhammad Ali. I'll go over the story again. My mom wrote Muhammad Ali. My mom suffered from a little bit of depression and stuff from time to time. And usually when she did, kind of like Elvis was kind of her kind of comfort, so to speak, you know what I mean? At her funeral, we played an Elvis song. For the life of me, I can't think of which one it was. It was a more religious song. My mom was religious, and she kept this beautiful picture of Jesus. I got to show you this one after. Maybe not in this video, but in another video. I might even hang it on the wall. I don't know what I'm going to do with that one, but I'm sure. I'll show it to you. See that guy got you guys going. So my mom would reach out to. I'm sure she wrote Elvis when she was a kid, like every other teenage girl at the time. Yeah, it's very hard to do in one hand. Sorry, but here we go. Sorry, Elvis. Got to put the other king out. I'm sure Elvis would approve of this one, but isn't this a beautiful picture of Jesus? Like I know not everybody's religious in that, but two men with fantastic stories, right? Both kings. How about that? Just one a little more up there, but I'm sure Elvis would approve of this. I know the camera's not catching the light right, but what a beautiful Jesus photo. I gotta keep that for sure. So yeah, Elvis would approve of that for sure. But yeah, so my mom wrote Muhammad Ali, everybody that went to the funeral, and Muhammad Ali actually responded. It was like months and months and months later. But he actually responded. And I remember my mom picking up the phone, and I picked up the phone. Somebody called and they asked for my mom, and I had a hard time understanding him. He had a really kind of like, I knew it was an older man. Like I knew it was like really old dude who, and so I was like, sorry, could you repeat that again? And he couldn't pronounce our last name properly. So that I said, okay, yeah, it must be like a doctor or like an appointment or something like that. It was after supper, I know that. And anyway, so I said, "Mom, for you, whatever." My mom gets it, and she's just there. Hello, who's this? Who? Who? And she does that. I go, really? No, like that. One of those things, right? And uh, and then anyway, so everybody in the house kind of like goes really quiet, and then she's like, "Oh my god," like she's all like a little starstruck and whatever. Now, the interesting part is the question my mom wanted to know from Muhammad Ali was because Muhammad Ali went to the funeral, right? So he was like, no, he was in the casket, he was dead, So she had to know, right? And I'm sure he got that question all the time, but also, Muhammad Ali is part of the Muslim faith, so he was also trying to get a convert as well. Okay, whatever. It's like, but he reached out to my mom, sent her a bunch of like pamphlets and stuff like that. But it was more that they probably talked for about a half an hour, maybe. Like I mean, so it was very that's the controversy of Muhammad Ali. We won't get into any of that, but it did speak to the man's character to take the time to call somebody in like basically West Quebec. It's about something so many that happened so many years ago. But I guess like anything, anybody that knew Elvis personally, their lives were changed. You know what I mean? Like to be a part of that, whether it was on the good end or the bad receiving end of the trials and tribulations of Elvis, right? But anyway, no. The second time he called, he said I'm going to send you some stuff. So he sent us some religious stuff and whatever, and that's fine. No problem like that. And that was the last we ever heard of him. I think a few years after that, that's when Muhammad Ali passed away. But it's just an interesting story. Like people that are like, you know, on the world stage, like we're like nobody knows who we are. Okay, I have a couple of YouTube followers, but you know what I mean. Like, it just like to be once removed from Elvis. You know what I mean? Like somebody who shook the man's hand. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of really cool. So that's why I always tell that story. But no, my mom had probably been hanging on to that since 1978. God knows what she would have lost along the way of a lifetime, moving and stuff like that. And God knows what kind of stuff I would have tore up as a little kid, because I was always into everything. So I'm sure I probably damaged stuff too. But my mom would never say nothing about that. God rest her. But yeah, this was her stuff. And her favorite actors, well, technically, I guess you could say Elvis was the number one. Was like Mel Gibson and Brandon Fraser. She really liked those actors. The other person that she liked a lot, she has a little file on him over there, and it was Mickey from the Monkees, right? All the teenage girls at the time, I guess that was their crush, right? Was either somebody in the Beatles, somebody in the Monkees, or Elvis. Like that was kind of everybody else was just kind of like, yeah, no. Those were the heartthrobs of the day, I guess. Maybe it was Neil Diamond was in there, who knows, or Chris Christopherson, who knows. But you get the idea. It is very special to discover something like this, and I thought I'd share it with you guys. So I don't know what else I could say. Like I say, none of it is for sale. Don't even bother asking. I won't even reply. Because this is going to go to my grave. But if you did want some of this stuff, I don't know if this lady is even still alive. But like I said, you can search down the Barbara McLean and see what you know. My mom was a part of an Elvis fan group, and I guess that Barbara McLean is the host of it. And so my mom got some of this stuff. But again, a lot of these are from the 1990s. I mean, that's 1995. I know where I was in 1995. That was a great year for me. A hard year, but a great year. 1978. I don't quite remember what I was doing other than probably picking my nose as a little kid in 1978. Maybe I was watching Phantom of the Park by Kiss or Elvis or the Dukes of Hazzard or the Hulk or Three's Company or something. Who knows what I would have been doing, right? Who knows what I would have been doing? But yeah, this I thought was really special, and I thought I should share, with you guys. I'm gonna go over the concert dates, the times, the interviews, and all that. I don't know how much of it I'll show you guys, but just to go through it, I'm definitely gonna read all the books, and then they're all gonna go back in the bag. And I don't know what I'll do with the Jesus picture, but I'll probably put him in the bag, back in the bag too, just for keepsake, so that they don't ever get damaged. I'm so glad I didn't toss that bag out. I am so glad I didn't toss that, because I really didn't. I really thought it was just going to be crocheting junk, and there was crocheting junk in there, because this is kind of what I saw in the bag, right? My mom did crocheting, so those I'll probably, there's like patterns and stuff there, so maybe I'll give them away, or have, when I have a yard sale, I'll sell them or whatever. That stuff, old catalog stuff like that, who, with the patterns and for crocheting, maybe somebody will want it, but this is the important stuff, anyway. And there was some other personal stuff that was in there, like letters from her childhood friends and stuff like that. So I keep that too, you know what I mean? And that's get them all there. Yeah. So anyway, I'll give you one last look. Again, look at the detail of the artwork here. Isn't that fantastic? Okay, I'll do the zoom. What, I screwed up. Hang on. Okay, just so you can get an idea. So that one is, it's still think it's good. It's phenomenal artwork, but I think it looks like Neil Diamond. There's definitely young Elvis here, right? I like that one. I wonder how old he would have been in that one. It's hard to say. Like, there's young Elvis. Let's have a look at him. There's slightly older Elvis, right? 1978. How old was Elvis in 1978, right? Young Elvis. A painting. Same lady. Same lady here. Look at that for a painting. That okay, it's a postcard, but a painting. Elvis. Serious Elvis. Happy Elvis. There's the young heartthrob Elvis. Eh? Like, I wonder how old he's there. He's probably like, what, 20, 18, 20? I'd be in the 1950s for sure. What's that on his rings? He got some stuff on the rings. There, that's the Elvis that inspired me to play with the white jacket. Yeah, yeah. Graceland. Let's have a look at Graceland. Yeah, isn't that crazy? That's great, isn't it? Isn't it? All right, there we go, guys. Have a great day.